Last week's Battletech Tactica Vlog, we were exploring selling me on the large laser. I love long range. I love great damage alpha. We were looking at the PPC, right? 10-10. Looking at the large laser, 8-8, and the possibility that the large laser might be a better weapon. That's pushed up to the Battletech archive here. But within that framework, there were a couple of examples in the comments of mechs that use a large laser as a primary weapon. And then we got into this idea that sometimes you have to swap things out based on a campaign. And I think the classic example of the Marauder not only is a variant, but I've had to do this twice in 2 campaigns. I'm always going to play a Marauder. I'm always going to play a Warhammer. We've just got some classic mechs that I really, really love playing. And I'm going to field as many of them as I possibly can. But playing in a campaign, as we take losses and as we take damage, you need to kind of not only fix and repair your mechs, but replace certain components. So I had a lance, almost a lance of these variants where we took the PPC and downgraded it to a large laser. We took the autocannon, put it down to a medium laser. We essentially had an energy boat to push that out. And it didn't quite have the direct punch of that PPC Marauder, but it had a different type of punch in that I could fire more often. So it was an interesting kind of tactica. So we have that framework, and let's talk about customizing your mechs. What we see in the narrative, if you look through the technical manual, is you've got a primary configuration. This is the mech as it's sold, as it primarily appears, based on its background, based on the sales brochure of what it's trying to do. Then you might have some variants, which might be an improvement. This mech was created at this time, but there is a shortage or these components didn't exist, so it's better with these. Then you've got some mechs that have switched roles, where if you upgrade or change stuff, it goes from maybe a trooper mech to a support type mech. But this idea in Battletech that not only can you create your own mechs, but you can pull out components and create things vastly, vastly different and sometimes improve on things. So with that framework, I wanted to jump into an example, an exercise, a possibility of light mechs. Now, light mechs are interesting in that you are very, very limited with the tonnage. Not only do you have to be very tight with your design, but with that physical limitation of tonnage, once you put in the bare minimum components, fusion engine, you have a little control over that based on speed, heat sinks, the primary components for the mech warrior, that kind of in-game support stuff, you've got to make armor and weapons fit into everything else. When you jump to medium mechs, there's a little bit of a relaxation to that. You've got more tonnage to deal with. We see this with more armor while still maintaining good speed. You've got jump capability in most of those. Now you have a primary weapon, but also a brace of effective secondary weapons. And then, of course, when you jump to heavies and assaults, now you've got so much tonnage, you've got a lot to play with. There's less compromise because you kind of can have it all. Does that mean heavies and assaults are better? No, it's not free. It's not free. You've got to pay that battle value compared to a medium or a light. So with this exercise of improvement for lights, looking at things, because as you play in Battletech, you do want to customize your machines. You do want to look at possibilities. You might want to design your own mechs. So as an exercise, being deliberate in limiting ourselves to light mechs, so we need to make those choices. So the first thing of a light mech is I feel like I want to maintain that speed. The thing that keeps us alive is speed, throwing up those modifiers where even if you've got a good firing vector on me, at least I've got a plus something because I've moved a number of hexes. I also have the speed that if I have to make some sudden turns or maneuver, right, advance, turn, advance, turn, advance, I can still clear enough hexes to keep that up. I also want speed to be able to pull away, where if you get the jump on me for whatever reason and we're in medium range, can I move out to long range, increasing the range modifiers, plus throwing up movement. I need speed. So to downgrade the engine, this is why you find most light mechs very fast. Yes, you've got Irby. Yes, you've got a couple of other very specialized mechs, but I feel like in terms of a light mech, that's going to keep me alive. The armor is almost secondary. I do want the armor, but it's secondary. So with that, I want to maintain the engine. I don't want to drop to a lighter engine, so this way I can have more stuff freed up. I also don't think, if we're talking about the average light mech, I don't think I need more speed. I don't think upgrading an engine, and we're talking in very generalized terms, these are the questions to ask ourselves based on the machine performance. I feel like I don't need to go bigger because now it's going to be taking up space that I don't really have because we're hitting up against those light mech tonnage numbers. So we've got that. And say for the sake of this argument, there's light mechs and heavier light mechs. We're looking at the more maximum tonnage for the range, so we have a little bit to work on. Keep the engine. That's good. Maybe downgrade it a little bit. Still maintain that speed. Now, weapons versus armor. I think there's two ways to go here. The first would be to possibly mount more weapons. I would say more hard-hitting type weapons as opposed to more hard-point weapons, or increasing the armor. I find mechs, I regularly play a Locust. When I do play, it's usually the variant with the SRM 2-packs. I find weapons, secondary weapons on light mechs like machine guns or SRM 2-packs, although that does have a bite, I give it that. I would look to drop those because those are very, very, very situational, and that will free up some tonnage and some slots for us to do something. So I would look to strip away anything other than that single primary weapon. And most primary weapons for a light mech are going to be a medium laser. I pushed that Tactica up to the Battletech playlist here. Medium laser for the battle value, for the range, for the heat, for the damage, for the weight is possibly the best weapon in the inner sphere. It's just solid on all levels. And that's why it's like, look, I can only really carry one primary weapon for that light mech. It's going to be that medium laser. Some, like the Panther, have a PPC. Others, like the Valkyrie, mount an LRM 10-pack. There are always variants in there. We're looking kind of the overall framework. So I drop everything out. Drop those machine guns, drop that small laser, maybe even drop the LRM 5-pack if it has it, and I've got my medium lasers. The question here is, do I beef up more armor with this idea of what am I really doing every single turn? Just talking a Locust for a second. If I drop the machine guns and I add some more armor, would that be enough where I can be a little bit more aggressive with that medium laser? Possibly, but we still don't really have enough. I would drop the secondary weapons, and I don't think I would add more armor on. I would look to upgrade that primary weapon. Because if I add on different secondary type weapons, maybe I make things a little more effective and add on 2 more medium lasers. Let's say I could do the math and crunch the numbers and get the heat sinks to reliably fire it. Those are going to fall off pretty fast. If I have 3 medium lasers, I want to utilize those. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. As I take hits, it's going to go to internals. I'm going to lose those on the hard points. I'm going to take damage. I don't have the armor to do it. This idea, if I beef up the armor, well, how many hits can I really take? But if I take that primary weapon and I can upgrade that to a PPC, to a larger kind of weapon system with missiles, 10-pack, 15-pack, could I get, I don't know, I've never done it, could I get a 20-pack on there? Looking at this idea and saying, if I'm going to stay at distance with this light mech, because I'm going to be moving and try to stay at range, if I can have a PPC on there and a long-range missile pack, that's got some significant threat while I'm still keeping the speed for the recon and other things of a light mech. So this idea where you start talking things out with your, the mech command and the mech techs, and you look and say, based on the tonnage, based on what I can do, what's kind of the best type of thing? Now, Battletech being Battletech, when we get into variants and mech creations, you've got the tonnage. Sometimes you see some crazy, crazy machines out there. It's the You guys will fact check the name. Is it there's a light mech, and it mounts a single, I'm going to have to look this up after. It mounts a single large laser and is so fast. Armor's pretty good. The speed is jacked up even more. So the Hussar, this light mech is like really annoying. It breaks the mold in that it upgrades the weapon, upgrades the speed, makes it very, very, very aggressive. It's essentially a mobile large laser platform single shot that can, on a hex map, really kind of be anywhere you need it. But there's no room being mounted on a light mech for any type of error whatsoever. You just don't have the armor. But this idea, as an exercise in Battletech, you've got your primary mechs, you've got your primary variants that you might play every now and then. But if we strip things down, how can you build them up? And based on the tonnage, based on the role of each mech, what's kind of the safe way to play it, or the safe options? But also, if we just want to go crazy and design some really, really unique or strange machines, those are out there also.